right, I guess you guys are ready. We can get started. So today we're gonna have a little bit switch. Um, am I seeing everyone? Okay. So Sunny is going to be facilitating today's session, and he'll be sharing with us Brutiful Conversations. You'll learn more about it. But before, Sunny, do you want to just introduce yourself very briefly, please?
Yeah, I'll do it just very briefly. Can you see my screen first of all?
Yes.
Oh, you can see the big proof. All right, brilliant. Yeah. I think most of you know me. I work in high performing teams and change management, based out of London. And I've got a couple of really powerful workshops that I run, and this is one of my favorite ones on how to have very difficult conversations. So yeah, we can get going in a little while. Right. Um, Actually, why don't we just start right in at the deep end? So. Safa, is it okay if I have Brutiful Conversations is all about difficult conversations. So can I just start off by having a bit of a difficult conversation with you?
With me. Okay.
Okay. And I know you know the rules, Safa, we've been through it quite a few times, but just as a reminder, anything I say to you, let's just keep it between me and you and this forum. So, please everyone on the call, don't discuss this outside of this. And the key line is that, whatever I'm going to say to you, I'm not comfortable saying it. You might not even like hearing it, but I really genuinely believe that it'll help you improve as a person, and it might even help us work better together. And I think it will be better for this community as well. Um, and again, just as a quick reminder, please listen. You're not going to find it that comfortable, what I'm going to say. But please do listen before you make any judgments. You might want to have a few knee-jerk reactions. And then if I could be wrong, so if you want to give me some feedback as well, I'm going to be open to potential BC back from you as well. So feel free to say that to me. And then ultimately, if you don't want to have this conversation because it's not the right time of day, you're not in the right mood, we don't have to have it right now. But I would like to say something to you.
Go for it. You're putting me on the spot, but okay, go for it.
Well, you can't say no after that, can you?
Yeah, I know.
After that build up. My BC I'd like to say is that I really wish that you would get more involved in these sessions. I think you play a little bit of I use a French word because you'll know this as well, but you play a bit of a laissez-faire role in the sessions, and I'd love to see you express yourself a little bit more. And while Stone is obviously someone who drives them and he's very involved, I'd love to, you both have created this concept and this idea, and yeah, I just want to say I'd love to see a little bit more of involvement from you.
Okay, I'm listening. But I think Mark would agree with you, right?
I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to say anything.
All right, has Mark already had that BC with you, has he?
He was very gentle about it. Yeah.
Oh, was he? Oh,
Not
brilliant.
really.
Oh, amazing. Not as direct as me. But
Okay.
yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Safa?
Um, you've met Stone, right? You've met him in person.
In
Like,
person, yeah.
he's very tall. He's very, impressive.
Mm.
So, I like to this space to be let for you guys, for everyone to contribute. So it's not about Safa show, it's about everyone's show. So the contribution.
Ah, we lost Safa. She just bottled out halfway through it, didn't she? Yeah, I guess, yeah. We lost you there a little bit, but I hear what you were saying. Look, look, we're not. It's not going to be a long debate. But no, I totally, I understand that. I still feel it would be really good to hear a little bit more about you, a bit more about your character, your personality, because I know you personally. We've met a few times, but I'm not sure everyone does. Like, would people on the call be able to, say that you've got two children, for example, and what you do outside of just again, I think we all know about everyone else. It'd be good to hear that. So anyway, that was my BC. Jane, do you have a question?
Yeah, I agree. Safa, you're one of us. You're part of us. You're the one that its expertise is you. And it would be wonderful to hear more from you. Like you are so patient sitting here every week, but we would love to have you be part of
There
it.
you go.
You are part of it.
There you go. I
All
think
right.
it's been
We'll
decided.
take it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, did you have a BC for me, Safa?
Um, yeah, definitely. Sunny, I mean, you're very smart, right? You know that. I mean, you read one book a week, right? Who does that? I'm not sure if any one of us here in the room read one book a week, but you're very smart. And sometimes you're too much in a rush to
Mm,
just get the next thing done and then to move very fast. And I don't think everyone, like lives on the same rhythm as you. So I think it's important like to just censor what's going on and then adjust accordingly because some of us may be slow learners. So we need more time. We don't get it from the very, very first go. So I
yeah,
think, yeah, I think definitely just if you could slow a little bit down.
yeah.
Yeah, Jane,
That,
I just had to add, what's the best way to learn? Do it, right?
by doing it. Mm.
yeah. Look, that's a good BC back. I appreciate that actually. I'm not going to really challenge that at all. I think I agree. I've had that feedback from other people. In fact, what you've told
Right
me, I've
on.
heard previously from a few other people that said the same thing. I do need to slow down a little bit. So look, if I'm going to go through the slides now. So if
I,
anyone wants me to slow
I,
down, do
Right
let me
on.
know.
yeah, I like to add something. I guess most of us know the Diggs profile, and some of us go much faster than others. But I also think that being introvert is nice, being thoughtful is nice, is great, but probably you're being extremely introvert, Safa.
Oh, it's
So
all coming out now, isn't it?
yeah, no, but in the sense that I guess I feel you have a lot to add.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean that you are that taking, I mean, being the protagonist, but just be a part of the group. Also expressing yourself, your thoughts, as we all do. And I guess one of the main challenges for us is to adapt to everyone's styles.
mm,
Be patient with that. And some of us will speak fast, others no, others will take time to participate. And I guess we respect all that in reality. But I sense you in the fringes that and I think you have much more to add apart from being the creator of the app, which is wonderful, and of this beautiful group.
I'd like to add something.
Please.
God.
I read,
It's not the beat stuff up show, by the way.
yeah, my perception is that Safa is more reflective, introspective, processes, and when she speaks, she knows what to say, and she
Yeah,
doesn't need a lot of words.
true. Yeah, I think that's a really good reflection of Safa. So there you go, Safa. So
All right.
we've opened up a can of BC worms there, but I think that's really good feedback, and thank you for your feedback to me as well. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Clay.
Guys, I threw you in at the deep end there. So that was an example of a very difficult conversation. I've had those types of BC conversations now about, honestly, I've probably had about 400 in my life since I started doing them the last 10 years. And I've had them with very senior people in my organizations, with friends, with partners, with ex-partners, with children. And it's something which is now pretty much ubiquitous in terms of how I operate. And when I work with people, I try to build that level of psychological safety where you can start having these. I'm going to go through about 7 or 8 slides. I want to keep it interactive, and there will be some questions, but I might just use my carte blanche to say, actually, guys, can we just stop right there because the next slide answers that question as well. But we'll keep it quite short and sharp. We'll get it wrapped up by about 40 past the hour, and then there'll be a small breakout session, and then we'll try to get things wrapped up on the hour, so sort of 5 o'clock my time, which is sort of about 40 minutes from now. So yeah, I'll sort of dive straight into it and let me know what you think. Right. So I use the acronym BC, and it stands for what I call a Brutiful Conversation. And a Brutiful Conversation is a portmanteau that I've made up myself, the word Brutiful itself. But BCs I mean, you don't have to read it. I can sort of just talk this out. BCs are predicated on three really important pillars. And the first pillar is the importance of praise. And I really believe that individuals should be praising one another. And I work a lot with high performing teams in sport. And one thing you'll see a lot of is praise, both in the moment, in the game, whether it's boxing or football, but also off the game when training's happening. So I really believe in the importance of creating environments where you can regularly praise individuals, and hopefully people who know me, like Hanan and Safad, a few others on the call and Joanna especially will recognize that. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is obviously the developmental one. And I believe that you should be able to give feedback, get the tone right and the body language right, which we'll go into another slide. But you should be able to say something very difficult to someone without causing offense. Now, in certain cultures, it's very hard. The Dutch cultures are more open and amenable to it. Of the Far East, a little bit less so. Americans tend to be a little bit open to that sort of direct culture as well. But giving developmental feedback, I think, is the sine qua non of high performance. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect feedback makes perfect, in my opinion. And one element of that is giving difficult conversations and having those difficult conversation feedbacks. The third one, very interestingly, is the harmless foible. Does anybody know what a foible is?
No.
Lewis, I know you know what a foible is. Foibles are like just little quirks about you, or just little things that you might have about yourself. So, for example, I'm not going to pick on anyone, but I don't know, if you got, bad breath, it's not really a foible. But if you like tap your feet, or if you like, like you play with your hair or something, there's some things which are just absolutely harmless, but there are other ones which are like, my God, please shut up already. Like the way someone might, I don't know, like snort when they sneeze, or the way they chew their food. There are things on a personal level which typically in a work environment you've got to navigate very carefully. Obviously, it goes without saying, but actually I found that when I've been able to build up a really good relationship with someone, I've been able to have a conversation which said, and I've done this 4 times now, actually I think there's a smell coming from you, and there's clearly a body odor problem going on here. And I've had 4 of those conversations. You'll be pleased to know that I wasn't fired after them. And actually, the feedback was incredibly well received. The person just didn't know on each of those occasions over the last 5 years. So, yeah, they're the 3 main pillars of Brutiful Conversations. Any sort of, I'll take a couple of thoughts and reflections. There's more slides which hopefully will answer all your questions. But any initial thoughts and conversations on what I've thrown to you? Is this complete gobbledygook, or do you do this all the time and it doesn't need a word for it?
I've covered a few. On the first one, praise. There is an excellent study made by Marcial Lozada and Emily Heffy. Marcial Lozada is a psychologist. Emily Heffy is the University of Wisconsin. They observed 60 strategic business units, and they evaluated them, defining them in high performing, average performing, and low performing.
Yeah.
And one trend that really differentiated them, especially the high-performing teams, is the use of praise.
Yeah.
In a proportion of 6-1 of giving corrective feedback. And that's an amazing figure, because that's very counterintuitive. We are not raised to give positive feedback.
Yeah.
Yes, and especially, well, we tend to say, why should I praise you if I'm paying you to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
That is what happens a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I always go back to football, because a lot of the best managers, they will be brutal about how they give feedback, which is developmental, but they'll also put their arm. Greg Popovich is if you follow American basketball, Greg Popovich is one of my all-time favorite coaches from a management perspective, and his ability to do both of that is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, great.
I had an observation.
Go for it, Clay.
I was taught the ham sandwich method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of that, but go on, carry on. Go on.
Me neither.
I really like how you approach this. There's another piece of it that I think could be improved. And this other piece, I think you really did well. So you bracket it, you build the emotional side of it, kind of feeding the emotional bank account.
Yeah.
So you're creating that. And also, if there's a corrective or a proposed change, it's not a deficiency. I see it as a growing edge.
Yeah, Clay, look, that's what I've had this debate so many times, and let's take this offline and have a real good discussion around that. The shit sandwich, as they say in England. It's what I'm trying to create with BCs, and we're going to go to the next slide, which explains it. Is that you don't have to pick a moment 3 weeks or 6 months or 9 months down the line to give that feedback and nice, bad, nice. When the thing happens, you do it straight away. If you see something which is incredible, call it out. Like I used to work for a company, and I remember sitting next to a guy, and I said to him, like, where have you just graduated from? He said, Oxford. I was like, what did you do? He said, PPE. Does anybody know what PPE stands for at Oxford?
No.
Go on, Hanan, don't be shy. Don't just nod your head, say
My
it.
daughter would like to apply to it. It's philosophy. I forgot what exactly.
Politics and economics. Yeah, PP. So politics, philosophy, and economics.
Yeah.
It's the top degree that you do at Oxford. Basically, you can go on to be a Prime Minister of England. Most of the Prime Ministers have done it. And he's sitting next to me, and he's got. I was like, you've done PP at Oxford, and you're sitting here doing consulting with me. He's like, wow. And his slides were absolutely incredible. And I just looked at him and said, by the way, BC, they're fucking amazing. I shouldn't swear, sorry, right? But they are amazing slides. Like genuinely, wow. And he was like 22 years old. He's producing stuff better than I did at 40. And so that's the point, sort of, Clay, with that one there. It's not about waiting for the right moment and just sandwiching it up. But when you see stuff to develop, say it. When you see stuff
I
to
agree. I
improve,
totally
say it as
agree
well.
with that. And the sandwich can be handled in the moment as well.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely right.
I would like to add something that in terms of feedback, I totally agree. You cannot, it have to be on time, never imposed, always focused on conduct and not on your personal opinion.
Exactly.
It have to be very rational, very respectful. We say in Spanish, be soft with the person, hard with the conduct.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to give a corrective feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is one of the strongest tools.
Yeah, spot on. Alfredo, spot on. You're sort of going into some of the other slides, but yeah, exactly. Like, don't attack the personality. Don't do ad hominem attacks, as they say in Latin, right? So it's not ad hominem. It's about the subject. So look, this slide. And I don't need to keep this up too long, but I ran through this with Safa. And so those 5 bullet points, they are a concatenation of the word BC. So if I say BC to any of you now, you've now gone through the training. I know this is a crash course. That means that you understand what a BC means. A BC means I'm firing these 5 things off at you in my head. 1, it's Chatham House rules, or whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's number 1. Number 2 is the key line. That's why it's in red. Like in the whole deck is about 250 slides. This is the key line from it. And however you say this, learn your own way of saying it. The way I said it with Safa was, look, I want to tell you something. You're not going to like it. I'm not even comfortable saying it. But actually, if I do tell you, it's going to improve you, it's going to improve our relationship, and it might even help improve the group. Do you want me to say what's on my mind? So you ask permission at that point. All right, you ask for permission. And then as a reminder, look, please listen, because you're not going to like it. Everyone gets defensive. Everyone's going to fold their arms. But also, I'm open to feedback myself. And one thing I found with BCs, when you're brave enough to have them with people, they often turn around to you and say, do you know what, Sonny? Actually, now we're on the subject. Let me have an effing BC with you now. Let me give you feedback. So I've actually ended up learning so much. And I'm like, why didn't you just bloody tell me this 6 months ago? So you end up learning a huge amount about yourself as a part of that soft contract. Does anybody know what these 3 numbers stand for from a communication perspective? And does anybody know who Mehrabian is?
Yes.
All right, Alfredo, you stay quiet then. Jane, anyone else? Any other? Few heads. Oh, go on then, Alfredo. Go on then. Or
No,
Can I? Or who's
yeah, go on, Hanan. Yeah.
Okay, so the 55% is the body language. The 38% is the voice, and 7% is the word.
Yeah.
Speaking.
Yeah. And so this is really sits at the heart of Brutiful Conversations. Honestly, I've gone up to people. I remember about 5-6 years ago, I saw an adult having a go at his child. He was like in his 40s, my age, and he was having a go at his like 11-year-old son on a train. And I was like, I'm not fucking listening to this. Like everyone else is too scared. And I'm not saying you should do this, right, in public, just go up to people, but I'm big enough, old enough, and ugly enough to be able to risk it a little bit. And I had a BC with him in the moment, but it was the tone with which I approached him, and it was my body language that really helped it land. So yeah, tone, body language, and the words are probably the most important part of the communication. You know all this stuff, right? And then I guess once you've done the BC is almost like a preemption to the message that you want to say. Then you deliver the message. And that's what I sort of said to Safa very clearly, right? You know, I think you should express yourself more in the sessions. So the BC is almost like a step 0 or a step -1 or a step -2 as a precursor to this. But once you've set the BC up with the phrase BC, literally that means those 5 bullet points, you then deliver the message, you provide the evidence of what it is that you found, you then tell the impact that it's had on you or the group or your relationship, and then you hopefully co-create a solution. So this slide is I've worked at PwC and Deloitte and Shell now and a few other big consulting companies, and this is standard communication, feedback communications. This is standard stuff. A lot of people here will know this. But what I think is missing is the soft contract part or the psychological safety that allows you to go to step 1. And that's where BC is. BC tries to, building a BC type culture tries to build an environment where you can have those difficult conversations. So you can say 1, give the evidence at 2, and then show the impact at 3, then obviously co-create a solution at 4 as well. So it's quite a straightforward one. Hopefully that resonates with a few people. Right, I'm happy to sort of pause on this one, but this is one of my favorite slides. If I went up to every one of you now and said that I want to have a BC with you, it's human nature. You'd assume it's something really bad, and I want to give you some feedback for something developmental, number 1. And you'd probably assume that it's a really big one. It's like, oh my God, what does Sunny want to say to me? Oh my God, it's so bad. One of the things with Brutiful Conversations is that I believe that especially when you're a new team forming, you should have the bravery and have the guts to start having BCs 1s, 2s, and 3. I'm a little bit, this is a bit of a controversial statement, but I won't wait typically for trust to build to have the BCs, but I actually think that you can reverse engineer it. By having BCs, you can start building trust. Have I ever had a BC and it's backfired on me? 100%. Like 100%. I think out of about 100 conversations that I've had, maybe 10 of them will backfire. I'll be really honest. Have I ever lost my job as a result of it? Absolutely not. But the 90 that I've had have left people thinking, shit, do you know what, Sunny? I really appreciate your radical candor and your vulnerability and your honesty in giving me this gift of a feedback. And so I would strongly recommend that everyone has many BCs at this level 1, 2, and 3, which are little ones, which are things you won't typically say to someone, but you find an opportunity, you're brave enough to either give the praise or the developmental or the harmless foible feedback. Let me pause there for any thoughts and reflections on that. I'm putting a number onto a word here as well.
I have a question, because I understand you are suggesting to use the BC only when giving corrective feedback, but we can also use it when giving positive feedback.
No. For both, 100%, Brenda. So you use I often go up to people and say, look, BC1, amazing presentation.
Exactly.
Like really, really good. Yeah, 100%.
Yes, yeah, okay.
And so if now with me, Alfredo, if you like something I've done, just send me a message. BC1, Sunny, really good. Or BC2, Sunny, do you know what? You were still talking a bit too fast and you were rushing things a little bit, blah, blah, blah. I'm like fasting today. I need to leave on 5 on the dot. So that's why I'm rushing a little bit, but Safa knows that. But yeah, that you can use it for both. You're absolutely right, Alfredo. Any other thoughts on the BC concept so far and how to number it almost?
Do we need to wait like a specific time to have that BC? Like, how would you define like this is the ideal time to have the BC?
Yeah, it's a good question. Your gut tells you. I think you instinctively and intuitively you'll work it out. Don't wait for 2 weeks after. As a family unit, as Safa, we've got a big group of cousins. In fact, we're going to have our iftar in a little while at one of their houses, maybe about 30 of them. When we meet, we regularly We now don't say like, how you doing? We like, what's the BC? And it immediately makes the conversation very real. Like, or like, what's going to say something real to me? How are you going? How's the job hunting going? How's your mental health? Like, we have little chit chat conversations about football and stuff, but often the conversations, when you say that, it's a trigger for, no, be real with me. In terms of timing, you're right. Like, I wouldn't delay it for more than a week. Typically, if there's something I want to say, I don't let it ruminate in my mind. I've also had, when I got one of the friends I used to work with at PwC, I got to have a BC conversation with him on a lift with 10 other people on the lift. So he was standing at the other end of the lift. It was quite a big lift, and I gave him some feedback. Everyone in the lift literally was like, "What the fuck is going on here? How can we be listening to a live feedback conversation about?" And it was like a BC one. It was a developmental point for him, but we had such a good relationship that I knew that he would trust me with saying it in front of other people, and he wouldn't mind. He's very confident. This young guy, and yeah. So timing is important. You're absolutely right.
Annie?
Tony.
Oh, sorry, Annie was there.
Oh, whoever, Annie, yeah, whoever. Go on.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, I like when you said it's a God thing. My question is, isn't this kind of like a natural flow of things? Why do we need to, kind of put numbers to it or give a name to it? It's just the
That's
natural flow of things. We do it, as humans, we do it. I mean, if I respect your opinion on a subject, I'm open to listen, and I don't take it as a negative. I take it as a feedback. And
brilliant.
the people that I could care less about their opinion, you just kind of brush it off. So
Yeah.
why are we focusing and making such big deal of this? I'm just curious.
A big deal of the numbers or big deal of the concept that I've created?
The whole thing. The whole
Yeah.
thing, like putting numbers to it or colors to it, it almost makes me like, okay, then you have to think, am I in a green? Am I in a red? Am I in a yellow? Where am I crossing the lines? Instead of just, this is how I feel. I only give my opinion if I think you would want it or you ask for it. Otherwise, who gives a shit?
Great question. Does anybody else want to answer that question for me?
Yes.
Go on, Alfredo.
In my experience, it's not that natural. There are many managers who are really afraid of giving feedback, and there are many more who are really afraid of receiving it. So this needs to be practiced. Many managers don't do it because they confuse taking care of the relationship with giving feedback, corrective feedback. And that's in reality the S style of the disc. They are much more afraid of negatively impacting the relationship than giving feedback. And many managers have a direct style, a directive style, or many might well be. I don't know how to say it in English. Autocrats that they just autocratic, so they just give it to us straight, and they end hurting the relationship and generating fear on the way they give feedback. So this is extremely important aspect of how managers deliver feedback, and many of them first have to learn how to, not only on how to deliver that, but dare to deliver it.
100%.
May I follow
Yeah,
follow up? Sorry, guys, you have your hands up. So since I've never worked in a corporate world, I know nothing about corporate world. Zero, less than zero. But one thing I know in the US, my cousin's wife is a partner at the CPA firm. And she said that they are not allowed to give negative feedback to their millennial employees because emotionally they get it's not good. It would be very destructive. Yeah, I was shocked.
Wow.
But that's the rules right now because they cannot handle the negative feedback.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I have to do that. I have to really curb my enthusiasm and couch my words very carefully when I talk to people in their 20s and sort of early 30s as well. I'll go back to you, Annie, in a little while. But Tony, did you have a question as well or a thought?
Yeah, my thought is And that was a great conversation. Thanks, Annie, for actually creating that one. One thing I wanted to add to that is it is interesting because when somebody does respect you, then it is a different conversation.
Yeah.
Don't respect you, then it is a big conversation for the person that is actually stepping into it and having the courage to say something that potentially is going to be confrontational and not received on the other side because of lack of respect.
Yeah.
And that showed up for me in my personal relationship that I exited because
Yeah.
there just was no longer any respect in that. So it
Yeah.
was difficult. It was difficult to bring that up because what happens sometimes as a man or even a woman, you start shutting down because you're not safe anymore because there's no respect in order to bring up conversation because your word or whatever you're saying is just your opinion and it's not true. So you
Yeah.
shut down. So that's kind of what came up for me when you brought up respect. And I come from an Italian family and respect is everything. So
Yeah. Right. You know, Tony, really, really good point. And I think my 30 seconds to add to that is that there's a concept called skillful neglect. It's a phrase I use a lot. Be careful about picking your battles. You can't have a BC about everything. You're absolutely right. If someone's like doesn't respect you and you know it's going to land on deaf ears, I'm not going to have that BC. I'm not going to have it. I'll give them some formal feedback maybe. And I often, if I have a BC with you, it means I actually respect you. It means that I care for you about enough to have this conversation with you. If I'm not, I'll just bitch about you to the next person over the water cooler conversation. But if I think it's going to help our relationship and it's going to also support the group we're in, I'll be brave enough to have that conversation.
The one thing I wanted to bring up was words are kind of a big thing for me, even though it was only 7% on that other thing. But sometimes, like when I think of big conversations, I don't think that this is a big conversation. I would look at this maybe as a big conversation, depending on whose mindset, who's bringing it up. But I kind of think it's more of a transformational conversation, and I feel like it's more of an open. It opens things up um, energetically versus when you put the weight of a big conversation then it adds weight to the conversation. It automatically invites weight into the conversation. And I think if
Yeah.
you're going to be entering into a conversation of growth, then maybe, I don't know if big conversation is the word to put in front of conversation. I think it's more of let's get into a transformational conversation.
Love that. And the phrase you use, whatever trigger word you use for it, I've used transformational conversations, I've used difficult
Yeah.
conversations, I've used all sorts of trigger words for it. You're right, you can play around with it, but just have something which lets you know that actually I want to be real with you. And it almost like a little bit like the shit sandwich, just softens you and gets you ready for that. The alternative is, I'm not sure if you've worked for a big four before, I've had partners come up to me, said, just tap me on the shoulder and say, Sonny, can we have a quick word in the office? Now, in my head, I'm like, shit, is this a BC 10? Is it a BC 1? Like, what? And then you're walking to the office, you're thinking, shit, am I going to be fired? Right. But if you have enough of those, like I said, there's BCs 1s, 2s, and 3, hopefully it eradicates it later on down the line. Because I'm just conscious of time. Two quick questions. Who was first, Hanan or Lewis?
Hanan and then Lewis.
Go for it.
I don't have a question. I just want to reflect because
Sorry.
when you mentioned your gathering with your cousins,
Yeah.
that you just say the word, right? BC. Everyone is already prepared. Everyone already has the mindset.
Exactly.
This example just, I said, wow, because it's not about only professional relationships, but it's also about family, about friends.
100%.
If everyone is already acknowledged and knows this process, then it will be very easy. And it also helps people who have the strong ego and they are unopen for feedbacks. They might open themselves for
That's right.
So I don't think that we need to have all these steps at BC1 to 10. Everyone can take, according to his or her personality, the form, but knowing that let's agree to have this always when we meet once a month or once during dinner. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it goes on to this slide that you're seeing, but I'll talk. It's a good segue onto the next one. But Lewis, yeah, one more question, then we'll go on to the next.
Yeah. Just quickly. I mean, I find these days, I mean, we're very aware that everyone is getting very paranoid about their behavior and not upsetting people and all that kind of stuff. And I found in my experience, you know, I mean, I've dealt with politicians and rich people and poor people and big companies and small, but generally, what you're talking about really, to me, it seems more like a sort of middle management and team-based thing, because in my experience, the people at the top very often don't give a shit whether you're upset or not when they talk to you, because they're just getting stuff done. So I'm wondering how this fits. And I mean, looking at this slide, for instance, you know, the difference in operation between the United States Army and Pixar, for instance, is chalk and cheese. You know, you can try to apply these kind of ideas in certain situations, but I just don't think they work in others.
Yeah, great point. In fact, someone once said to me, a partner that I spoke to at PwC, he says, Sonny, great concept. Exactly your point, Lewis. Perfectly apt for middle management and team-based people, more sort of junior middle managers. In fact, if you want to be successful at the highest levels in a PwC at the partnership level, you've got to avoid difficult conversations and you've got to be very suave about not being so abrupt and direct. And I'm like, shit, we're talking complete chalk and cheese at this point. I'm going to rattle through this one. Has anybody heard of brain trusts at Pixar? Oh, surely, come on, must be one. Joanna, come on, surely you have. Brain trust at Pixar is like when I first read it, it's like one of my wow moments. A third, again, don't take this word for word. A third of the way through production for their next big animation for Toy Story 6 or whatever we're on now, they will get all their designers, 500 of them. It takes about, you know, so many designers to produce one of these animations. They'll get them all into a room for 2 days. They'll give them loads of like pizza and coffee and milkshake and drinks, and they'll basically have brutally honest conversations with them. Pixar put their success to their animations down to their brain trust meetings. So it's a language and a forum and an environment that they've created for brutal, radical transparency and radical honesty and radical candor. And they'll give feedback on, you know, Buzz Lightyear's, you know, helmet's not big enough, or, you know, the cowboys' shoes are too bad, or they'll be brutally honest with one another. McKinsey have a concept called the obligation to dissent. So McKinsey, one of the world's most successful management consulting companies, unarguably, you are obliged to have a BC. Not optional. It's the obligation is you to have those difficult comments at any level of the organization. When I joined Gallup, I was given Gallup is the polling company. I joined the employee engagement division as a strengths coach in 2005. When we joined, I got given a wad of 100 of these cardboard cutout drops. I was like, what are these for? And they were like, oh, you write good stuff about people on them. So this was like physically, you write good stuff and you go leave it on their desk. Back in the days when we used to go to desks. And so they were called drops. And then Bridgewater. Does anybody know Bridgewater and Ray Dalio? Have you heard of? Yeah, we've got a few. Yeah, Ray Dalio's, he's big on LinkedIn. He does a lot around his principles. Bridgewater is one of the world's largest hedge fund companies ever. Like just Google them. They are ridiculously rich. They have a huge amount of money, trillions under ownership that they invest in, a bit like a BlackRock. And they've got a concept called radical transparency. When people join Bridgewater, they leave after 3 months. 60% of people leave after 3 months. The remaining 40% stay for life.
Wow.
When you join, you have a mic attached to your shirt or your blouse, and every single conversation is recorded.
Wow.
Radical, brutal. Again, let me caveat this. I'm not saying we should do this. I'm not a proponent of this, but they are one of the, if not the most successful hedge fund companies in the world. Just Google, put them on ChatGPT yourself. Jane, did you have a question?
Alfredo has his hand up first.
Has he? Alfredo's always got his hands up. Go on, Alfredo.
Yes.
You might as well just talk like this. No, I'm only joking. Go on, carry on.
No, I was reflecting on what Tony was saying about respect, and I 100% agree with that. However, and I'm going to stress it, a toxic leader does not know his or she's been toxic. They just act from the level of consciousness.
Yeah.
And in reality, in the business world, many toxic leaders are being promoted just because they get results. And the end justifies the means. So what is going on in reality is that there are many leaders who are not being respectful but are being promoted just because they get results.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, look, and they're the ones that you need to have the most difficult BCs with. And going back to the personality archetyping, if you came to my session on Dream Team, they typically are in that boxer category. And in fact, boxers love feedback. They love to spar verbally. So if there's any one group of people you can have difficult conversations with, have it with those boxer archetypes as well. Jane, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I love that idea, the radical transparency. Imagine everyone wearing a microphone. How much differently we would talk to each other.
I know, imagine that.
No more insinuations and sarcasm. Anyway,
exactly.
Doesn't this all really come back to emotional intelligence?
Yeah.
Everyone was emotionally intelligent and learned about that at a younger age, which it's never taught, that this would all be so different.
So true. Yeah, so true. And that's why I'm taking this to schools now. I've presented this to a couple of schools recently, and they're like teaching kids how to have difficult conversations with their peers, with their teachers, in a respectful way. Again, tone of voice, body language, words. It's all really important. And just flashing through last few, I think you get it now. I'm not going to go through this. Yeah, the US Army have an after action review where everyone has a brutal. If I mess up a Buzz Lightyear's helmet and the color's not right, or if I do something wrong in my presentation, so what? If I'm in the army and someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do, I'm giving that person bloody direct feedback. I don't care who it is. Could be my manager, could be my partner, could be the brigadier. That you're expected to have those honest conversations. And in the UK, we have our red arrows. Again, they fly within centimeters of one another at like 100 miles an hour. And so they have their post-flight reviews. And the idea I got for Brutiful Conversations was from my favorite NGO in the world. It's an NGO called the Delancey Street Foundation. They're based out of San Francisco. Please look them up. And they act as a halfway house for convicts who leave prison, go into society, reoffend, come back into prison. So they act as this sort of in-between halfway house where you go in there. And they have this concept called games, where you have like brutally honest conversations with one another. 10 seconds. Has everybody heard of Kim Scott's Radical Candor? No? No at all. Read the book. It's a brilliant book. It's done the management rounds. When you care about someone personally, which is shown in your tone of voice and your body language, and you challenge them directly, you're in that sweet spot of radical candor. And I think that's about it. Yeah, I presume most of you've heard of the whole forming, storming, norming, and performing. And that storming part can sometimes take 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. With BCs, if you can create a concept of openness and transparency, I guess it goes back to your point, Annie, a little bit around how do you create an environment like Pixar's Brain Trust, or a forum, or a language that allows you to step into vulnerability and openness and honesty. It can speed up that storming period from 6 months into 6 hours or 2 hours, or you got one workshop where you now got the opportunity to be really open and honest with one another. Right, enough talking from me. I just wanted to, Safa, can we just, rather than break them into threes, can we just just split them into how many we got? Like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like maybe three groups of 5 or something, including yourself. As per the feedback, get involved. Don't just sit on the fence. And so 3 groups of 5. And I'd love for you to just have a discussion about, if you would want to have some difficult conversations, what would be some of the BCs that you'd like to have with a partner, with a manager, with a colleague, with one of us, maybe there's some BCs we could share with one of us as well. But yeah, it's just a 10-minute discussion on the types of conversations that you'd have. Then we'll come back and reconvene and see what you came up with. Yeah, thoughts from the group around what you discussed, anything that came out which was interesting?
Well, real quick, I don't want to keep people waiting, but I think personally, and we talked about this, that it comes down to emotional intelligence and how we teach our children.
Yeah.
We also talked about setting boundaries, things like that, but it's part of that. It's part of that bringing up of people that we have to teach them them how to have these conversations, and not to hurt other people, and not to cower back out of fear from having a conversation.
Especially now, Jane, I don't know what it's like in America, but kids in the UK, they can't hold a damn conversation. Forget Brutiful, they can't even have they can't even have the C part, let alone the B part. So just having conversations, I dread how even some of my kids, when they go into the real world, how are they going to bloody hold conversations, let alone difficult ones? Jesus.
Well, I live in a country where assertiveness is considered conflict. And that comes from many years ago. The countries in Latin America that have a high percentage of indigenous people, they were never a slave, but they were submitted. So they got used to saying yes. And these countries such as Bolivia, Ecuador, Peru, Guatemala, Mexico has what we call an easy yes.
What?
The easy yes. Because they think that saying no is getting into conflict. So imagine giving feedback.
Okay. So they don't like it. Yeah.
They don't like it. They try to avoid it. And when they do, they explode.
Is that indigenous people? Are you saying indigenous?
No. That permeated across the whole culture.
Okay.
So being direct and being, for example, Annie was saying that she's very straightforward. That kind of a style here is not well regarded.
Well received. It caused a lot of confrontations.
Yes, and it's very different because this conduct you see a lot in the mountains, but in the Caribbean, all along the coast of Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, they are more straightforward. So there are cultural differences. I agree that it is also a matter of education, how we were raised, but this is also a cultural thing in these countries.
Yeah, interesting. Wow, I didn't think of that. Super interesting.
I noticed this a lot in Uruguay also. People are very reluctant to say what's really on their mind. They're very polite. And it's not necessarily always a good thing.
Alfredo, if I can share something, I lived for a couple of years in Indonesia where the culture is very similar, and it's conflict and they kind of shy away from any of those conversations. And I was brought as a consultant to have those conversations with every single team member. It was actually welcomed. So if you do create the safe environment that Sunny mentioned early on, and you explain that, it's a no judgment place, it's really in order for them to progress, they're very receptive because they've never had it.
Great point. Yeah, really good point.
Jane, please.
Oops. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Put my hand down. I completely forgot what I was going to say.
No worries.
I'll come back.
That's fine.
I think that this is a complementary to the dialectic conversation. And the environment that I'm in, we've lost the art of the dialectic conversation.
Yeah, true. And it's why we use species. We'll go to you, Jane, in a little while. We use species with some of our kick sessions that I run, that Safa knows and Joanna knows, and Hanan have been to these. But we use a BC as a way to come together and have a dialogue, and we create a physical environment where people come to my house. We usually have groups of maybe 10 to 15 people every Wednesday, and we have some really, really difficult conversations, and it creates a dialogue. The word dialogue is Latin or Greek. Someone can, and you can tell me, but it's through word. It's words which go almost like through you, rather than a conversation, which is a little bit more. Sometimes that can be a little bit more sort of confrontational as well, right? But the BCs is trying to open up that avenue to try to get that dialogue happening as well. Jane, you thought of what you wanted to say now.
From what was going on before, we were talking about also that's the problem with Facebook, for example, especially here in the States. People would never say what they say on Facebook to someone's face. And they're very emboldened and very crude, even language that, gosh, we just didn't used to say it, and it's all normalized now. And that's why some of these younger people get with you, and they really stumble. I don't know what's going through their heads, but they can't get the words out because they're used to this way that they can text online and just shoot whatever comes out of their mouths.
Yeah.
We're losing something. People think, well, that's free. We're free. No, having some boundaries is what creates freedom.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
See that. So anyway, that's what I was thinking.
No, I totally agree with that. Amazing.
Yeah, Jane, to that point, it's interesting what people will say when they know they're not going to get punched in the face for saying it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Say it to my face. It's the keyboard warriors, as they call it. We have a lot of it in the UK as well. Guys, I've got to drop. Safa, are you okay taking over? But I've got to drop off, guys. Thank you for your
Thank you,
interest
Sunny.
and feedback and your BCs as well. Some good BCs back to me. So if anyone's got any BCs for me, please drop me an email. Just let me know. Honestly, I'm open
Put
to
down
it.
your contact details, Sunny.
Yes, I will do. I'll do that and then I'll just shoot off. But yeah, Safa, please take over.
And I was going to ask you guys to do the same and also welcome Matt, who is here for the first time. Hi, Matt. Welcome.